Like any Mortal Kombat fan, you're probably wondering who's going to make the roster for Mortal Kombat 12. In today's video, let's piece together what that roster may look like based on all the information we know thus far. By the end of the video, we should have a pretty good idea of who has the highest chances to make it into the game. Previously, I made a video detailing how many characters I think we'll be getting on the initial roster for Mortal Kombat 12, based on the average amount we've seen in the history of the franchise as well as Injustice. So taking what we learned in that video, I'm going to be compiling a roster of 28 characters, which is also the number of characters we included on our MK12 Dream roster scenarios in a previous episode of our podcast, the Netherkast. Right off the bat, let's get the obvious picks out of the way, and those include Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Liu Kang, Raiden, Kitana, Johnny Cage, and Sonya. These characters are incredibly popular and have been focal points of the series for several games now, making them all feel extremely likely. That takes us to 7 characters, which was the amount playable in the original Mortal Kombat. Then, let's add on the next tier down in terms of likeliness, with Shang Tsung, Reptile, Ermac, Smoke, Cyrax, and Sector. All of these characters missed the initial roster in MK11, yet all made a cameo in the game. Shang Tsung being the only one of them to make it as DLC, and with his story importance in Aftermath's ending, it just feels like his chances are high to return. They're all fan favorites of the trilogy era, so I feel like they have a leg up on the remaining candidates. So now we've filled 13 slots, 15 remain. Next up, let's add some 3D era representation. Now before we do that, I do have a quick question for you. Are you a Mortal Kombat fan? Have you been a fan for a long time, or did you just become a Mortal Kombat fan? Either way, we've been around for a long time, over 8 years in fact, which is why I greatly recommend that you subscribe to our channel. You're not going to regret it because we're putting out videos just like this weekly as well as podcasts, where we deep dive into Mortal Kombat's history as well as its future, including characters, the lore, the gameplay from some of the most knowledgeable fans on the internet. Speaking of which, you can find us on Twitter as well as our Discord, which is in the description. So if you want to be a part of a lively Mortal Kombat fan base that's talking Mortal Kombat daily, go ahead and check that out as well. That being said, one thing I absolutely do not like doing is wasting people's time, so let's get back to the roster. When I say 3D era, I'm going to include Mortal Kombat 4. So first up for the 3D reps, I think we'll get Fujin, Tanya, Kenshi, and Bo' Rai Cho. These will be the representatives from that era that have been in modern games already, thus they seem to be more favorable inclusions. I could easily see Quan Chi filling one of those 4 spots instead, but since the 4 I chose have already all previously been DLC characters, I think Quan Chi is the better fit as DLC this time around. Then with Ed Boon stating that they are aiming to fix the perception that they hate 3D era characters with this next game, I can't imagine those are going to be it. Instead, I think we have to receive no fewer than 5 3D era reps that have yet to be introduced in modern NRS games. So let's go a bit optimistically here. I'm going with Havoc, Reiko, Sareena, Li Mei, Ashrah, Nitara, Shujinko, and Kai. These are in a lot of ways the cream of the crop in the 3D era that fans have been asking for more so than the others, so I'm going to give them the nod here. I'm swinging for the fences there a bit, certainly pie in the sky, but I think if you're going to include them, they make more sense as initial roster inclusions than DLC, just in terms of sales. Let some of the proven favorites come in as DLC instead. And to Ed Boon's statement, like I said, if you're suggesting that you're going to fix a perception of hatred towards these characters, you need to go all in. We typically get 1 or 2 per roster. You need to at least make a big enough splash to make it a clear statement to back that up. This would accomplish that. Now we're up to 25. That leaves 3 slots left. For these, I'm giving 2 of the slots to characters that became playable in modern NRS games, Tremor and Kotal Kahn. You gotta have more ninjas, and Tremor made a pretty great first impression here. Then with Kotal Kahn, I feel like he's one of the better standouts of the modern era, though I could easily see this going to Cassie Cage instead, especially for more female representation, so it was a bit of a toss-up. That brings us down to the last slot. I think you could do any number of things, of course. If we need a new character introduced that is yet to be playable, I'd say the Great Kung Lao makes a lot of sense, but I feel like a lot of the 3D era characters who have yet to debut in modern NRS games should be serving the usual slots of new characters. This way, we strengthen Mortal Kombat's roster overall without adding to the total number of characters in this franchise, at least for this one game. So instead, I'm going to say this last slot is going to a potential pre-order bonus character, which if we follow the trend, it's been a big bad bruiser type to get people hyped up to pre-order the game. The ones that immediately come to mind are Kentaro and Motaro. Motaro would take a lot of effort on their end to pull off, and he has proven to be a challenge, but perhaps the new engine will make it possible. However, the safe bet is Kentaro. He's sort of gotten the shaft in favor of Goro or Shiva over the years, so this feels like maybe it's his time to shine. And there you have it. This is my prediction for MK12's roster. I think at the very least it'll be 80% correct. As for where some of the favorites come into play, like Noob Saibot, Jade, Jax, Takeda, or Cassie Cage, I can easily see them being DLC candidates this time around. They'd sell very well and have yet to be DLC. Thanks for watching. Let me know down in the comments below what your roster predictions are for Mortal Kombat 12 and what characters you'd like to see make it on the roster. Make sure to like the video because it helps us tremendously and others to see this video as well. And subscribe, of course, because you're not going to want to miss the journey to Mortal Kombat 12. See you guys later.